Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you are listening to this, it's a good day. Welcome to another episode of the Off the Tools podcast with myself, Wayne Bettess and Andy Jones. Still no sound effects because I keep forgetting time and time again.
We do our best.
That's not just our feature now. We just make our own sound effects just for the fun of it. Well, you know, this is episode, I think 30 odd something. We're flying through these this year, thanks to Andy joining the team. And today I want to talk about sort of the identity trap, and why the real reason behind why tradesmen struggle to build a business. I know we've sort of skirted around a lot of what we're going to talk about today in other episodes, but I felt it sort of warranted its own talk, really, you know. So a lot of tradesmen, you know, they struggle with that identity, don't they? And transitioning from tradesman to either entrepreneur or business owner, however you want to frame it. So that's really the subject of today. I'd love to sort of kick it off with what's your initial thoughts on that, Andy?
So there's a phrase that's proper locked in my head at the minute because I've spoke about it with so many people, and it's basically, it's not a phrase, more of a two-word thing. Accidental business owner. I've not woke up yet. Accidental business owner is this, and this industry is full of accidental business owners. There's lads who own businesses that never wanted to, never planned to, and truthfully don't really know what to fucking do with it. It's always been so easy, or not always been, it's been easy for the last 20, 30 years to move to being self-employed, but without any real thought process into what goes into it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a good plumber, gas engineer, electrician, joiner, whatever it might be. I don't like this company I work for. You know, let's use British Gas as an example. Obviously, they did the hire and fire. We've got a lot of lads that came into the alliance when British Gas did the hire and fire. There's also a lot of lads that are obviously out in the ether that are just trying to survive because it's just been so fucking easy. I don't like where I'm working. I want to have a go myself. I'm going to go out on my own. But while it's been easy to do for the last 20, 30 years, it's actually also been viable. And by that, I mean, it's been nowhere near the challenge that it is today to do it. And it used to be, you know, there's always that classic conversation in the trade game of do a good job, charge a good price, and word of mouth will get round and you'll get busy. Unfortunately, as you've all heard me speak about so many times as of late, that is no longer enough, and that does not happen anymore. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear that, but that is the reality of it. That will not happen anymore. You know, there's a lot of talk about lads being quiet, the quietest I've ever been. The reason for that is probably because you don't have systems, software, processes, and staff in place to compete with the businesses that do. As a result, they are now acquiring all of the customers. So to get back on track a little bit, most of the lads who are in the game, self-employed business owners, don't really want to be there, which is why then a lot of them end up being full-time subcontractors. So technically they're self-employed, but they've just got a job or multiple jobs or multiple bosses, however you want to break it down. And that sort of leads into the self-worth side of things then, doesn't it? About just trying to get your head down and be busy.
And that word busy, I love that word. One thing I always try and do is when people ask me, are you busy? No. And then they're like, what? And then you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to be busy. If I'm busy, I'm doing something wrong. But unfortunately, it seems to be the metric that differentiates a tradesman from a business owner, doesn't it? You know, so when someone is proud to wear that busy badge, I call it the badge of honor, you know, I'm busy.
I'm rammed. Yeah, I can't take any more on.
Yeah. And that to me clearly identifies where their headspace is, you know, and where they're tying their self-worth and their success, so to speak, is is in being busy, and it's I guess it's just ingrained, isn't it? You know, we were all like, many of us, not all of us, but many of us were probably trained by an old school geezer, you know, that had worked hard all his life, probably still working now in his 60s, you know, and busy was the metric of what looked like success. If as a tradesman, you had to be, if you were busy, you were shit, wouldn't you? Basically, you know?
And it was more relevant. It was more relevant back then, wasn't it? Busy was a strong metric.
But it's certainly it's to me, it's a warning sign now. If I'm busy, that means I haven't delegated, I haven't made processes, I haven't systemized, I haven't automated, I haven't grown to that next level. So busy is always that first step to me where it goes, right, Wayne, right, let's take 2 steps back here. Let's assess the situation. What is causing me to feel this busyness, and then I start to unpick it, and you know, and whether that be getting a new automation in place to save me having to do something, whether that be to outsource it to another member of staff. So like a prime example of that is I'm very busy at the moment. I'm doing a little bit of local work. Okay, so nothing to do with plumbing and heating. It's a local. I run a Facebook group in the local town that has like 35, I think something. No, it might even have 55,000 members. So there's a lot of potential there. So I've been busy trying to work out ways how I can help the community, and obviously try and make some money, and you know, and that. So I've been very busy trying to build something called the local hub, and the last 4 weeks I've sort of put a lot of effort into it, and it's got to the point where I'm busy at it. So the first thing I've done is take a step back. I gave myself a week off last week, and I've come back this week, and I'm like, right, I need to delegate the roles that I'm doing in this, because otherwise I'm just going to end up on the tools in that project, you know, and I don't want to just get dragged into being busy. And thankfully, you know, I've got 4 children, but two are of age of work. My son works within the plumbing business. And my daughter is going to come in and do some work on this local project that I've got going on. But it's just a prime example of using busy as an identifier, you know, and not letting busy be the success metric, because it 9 times out of 10, it's not a good thing if you're busy, you know. It may be at the beginning, you know, if you're starting off as in the industry, you want to get to that point where you're busy, you're out there, you know, you're in the world. But as soon as you get to that point, you then need to go, let's go back a little bit here and try and delegate. I know I waffled on a little bit there, but what's your thoughts?
No, but there's nuances to busy as well, isn't there? And we're training up a new full-time admin girl for the heating business, and I was explaining to her, obviously, come the winter, everything goes a bit wild, and if the diary is more than 2 weeks at 80% capacity, anything more than that, whether it be capacity or length of, you know, advanced bookings, there's a problem. And again, you know, we have scraped over this before of, you know, a lot of lads like those bigger jobs because it books the diary up for a while, but then that takes you away from doing anything else. For a start, the reactive stuff can be more lucrative. It can create a better rapport with the customer. And the big one being the pricing. There's a problem with your pricing. So being busy, if you're too busy, and you know, we're forever talking about what you mentioned to the lads as price throttle. If you're not on point with your price throttle all of the time, there's a problem. So that needs to go up in the winter, down in the summer, or up when you're busy and down when you're quiet. And
don't feel bad. Sorry to jump in, but I just need to get this out. You know what my ADHD brain does. Don't be afraid to throttle your prices, right? Every other industry does it. Okay, pint of milk, right? Depends on supply and demand. Price of petrol, very relevant right now if you're listening in May, June 2026. You know, very relevant.
Prices when there's an event on.
Yeah, holidays. You know, guess what? You go into school holidays, add another freaking zero onto the end of the price, don't you? You know,
that's a good example, that one.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I'm looking at booking a holiday at the minute, and literally, it's £2,000 more to go 10 days into the summer holidays rather than 10 days before the summer holidays. Yeah. Over £2,000. It's crazy. But my point is, right, the throttle of pricing is standard business practice on supply and demand. If you've got less supply, you know, then you can reduce the demand. I've said it the wrong way. You know what I meant.
No, but it comes back to the crux of it then, doesn't it, though? And you use the word that the core of this conversation is about, which is business. Again, lads who are being locked in and being fantastic tradesmen do not have the capacity then to think about things as a business owner. You know, like we joke about the Instagram plumbers with the, you know, polishing the pipes and all that sort of thing, and everything looks amazing. But that's
and the black latex gloves in the videos.
You know, that's
you look like a black latex glove man to me, though. I think you try to keep your hands clean when you get
the black mambas. I used to use those black mambas. Problem is, I don't like leaving. I never used to like leaving them on for too long because your hands get sweaty. So I'd go through like boxes, like when I was on the tools, I'd like I don't know, do a repair on a boiler and then take them off and then do the service on it, put a new pair back on. Silicone grease, man, that is so hard to get off.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, let's get back on. Let's stop talking about Black Mamba.
Yeah,
we're not sponsored, but if you do want to sponsor Black Mamba, please come and reach out.
Give us a shout. Yeah. The train of thought, the business mindset. If you need to allow that capacity for the business thought process. Again, if you just charge a good price, do a good job, attitude still, you're not going to be leaning into the business side of things. The business side of things is, as you've just said, being aware of supply and demand, being aware of the capacity of your diary. If it's just your diary, if you've got a team of lads, it's being aware of the capacity of all of the diaries. If things are looking busy, your conversion rate's high. The boiler installation side of things is probably the easier metric, even though we've both got maintenance businesses. Primarily, the installation side of things is a little bit easier to use as a metric. If you're converting too many jobs, if your conversion rate is over 60%, there's a problem there, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Investing too many jobs and you're probably too cheap. If your conversion rate is, a lot of lads, I win almost all my jobs, there's a fucking problem. And it's probably
it comes back to that ego, doesn't it? They're seeing that as success because they're winning so much and
the busy.
And back to the busy bit, isn't it? Yeah. And another phrase that I hear so much, and I'm sure you do, Andy, on your one-to-one calls and stuff too, is it's just easier if I do it myself. How many times do people use that as the excuse? I'll just do it myself, whether that's because they feel like they can't trust people or whatever it is. That phrase, busy and I'll do it myself, seem to be very common amongst the people that are stuck in that tradesman mindset, doesn't it?
And train of thought.
That one a little bit.
Train of thought. You was right. You tried to say this 2 words at once. So that's the train of thought of the tradesman. There you go. That was what you were going for.
Yeah, that was basically what I was trying to say.
A couple of points on that really. So again, a lot of this is a common one with the newer lads, and me and Wayne did a joint one-to-one with one of the lads who's got while he is new to the group, he's got a very large business that he built up and got involved with, and it was his dad's business, and I'll not go into that too much. But things like not wanting the field staff to take payment on site because they don't want them to know the pricing structure. That's again a tradesman type mindset and not a business owner mindset. If you had a business, you would be delegating and outsourcing the invoicing and that sort of thing to your staff. It's a closed mindset.
Could you imagine going into McDonald's and they're having to send out the manager to charge you?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. I'll do it myself because I can do it better. is the other common one with that is, yes, in the now you can probably do it better, but with some training, the new member of staff will do it way better than you. And that's the most common one with that is the admin side of things, isn't it?
Yeah,
We've got one of our mentees who I tend to spend most time with because he's fairly local to me. It's took him a while to get on board with that. Oh no, I'll just do it myself. I'll do it myself. And then it's only when we took a Zoom out and he's like, well, he's doing, getting in from work at 7 o'clock on the tools work and then doing the back end work till 11 o'clock at night. I was like, well, just outsource it. And he's just took on an admin girl now, actually, who's due to start next week. But that's took, a good 6-7 months of me talking to him because I'll just do it myself. I'll do it better. It's like, yes, in the now, but she will do it way better than you with time. Like our reviews are mostly from the girls in the office and the software. And that's because, it was let go. And that's a lot, like I say, a lot of it is the ego side of things. It can take a bit of time, but you've just got to let it go. This, I can do it better than anyone else, is, even if it's true, I'll go a little bit more of a waffle / into the nuances of it. It's probably true for a lot of things, but it ain't going to grow you a business. We've spoke about this so many times. Yes, you can probably do it better than anyone else in your team. Maybe one particular thing that might be breakdown, it might be installation, whatever it might be. But as long as they're 80 to 90% there, that's more than good enough, and you can scale a business with that. And your ego is going to stop you from growing that business, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think this leads on to a next point, which is like the need to be needed. Does that make sense? So in my own example, back in 2019 is when I nailed my team, and we had a full-time office install guy. He was the lead engineer, install teams underneath it. And for a period of time, I felt a little bit disjointed because I was no longer needed. And I was like, okay, this is a weird feeling because I don't need to answer the phone. I don't need to go out and quote. And it took a little while to sort of accept that I'd built. I guess it's similar to when your kids grow up, and they don't need you as much. It's sort of, although it's great and you want things to grow and become bigger and better, it's also a little bit sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Emotional, I guess, is the word that I'm trying to say here. You sort of get a little bit withdrawal, and you're like, oh, like when your little kid doesn't come and sit on your lap after school anymore because they're too big and they go straight on YouTube or whatever it is. It's like, okay, this is different. I'm not sure I like this feeling of not being needed as much. But if you want to grow a business, ultimately, you've got to be able to get out of that and stop being needed every single day. Looks like we're having a bit of a technical issue right now. Andy has disappeared from the screen. So, so what I was talking about there is being that having that feeling of being needed. You might not even notice it. You might not even know that you want that feeling. You only notice it as you start to step away and aren't needed as much. You can sometimes have that feeling where you feel a bit lost of where you're going. But that's where, having good people around you, structure, support, guidance really, really helps to make sure that you are nurtured through that period. I'm just going to try and get Andy back in the room, so just bear with me for 2 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. And we're back. Andy didn't fall asleep. For any of those in Alliance will know what I mean there.
We are in
he
the
just
north,
had
so
internet problems. The hamster didn't quite run as fast. Talking to hamsters, our hamster escaped last night. My wife has spent all morning trying to find it, and we found it. So positive news, we don't have to tell our little daughter that the hamster's gone.
Or rush to the pet store
to buy a replacement. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, let's move the conversation on. So hopefully that wasn't too disjointed for you, because I did press pause on the recording. But we were gone for a good 5 minutes there, so I just need to get back in the zone. let's move the conversation on a little bit to the emotional shift from tradesman to leader and businessman. What does that mean to you, Andy?
Delegating, outsourcing, accepting that other people, as we just said, other people can do things as well as you, or more often than not better than you. But I suppose ultimately it's letting go of parts of the business, a piece at a time, until, and just to backtrack slightly, I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday, funnily enough, and we were talking about like the ADHD brain as you start to let pieces go. Just what you've mentioned sort of has just reminded me of that conversation with a good mate called Gary, and he remembers when he got to that point in his business. It's a different business, but same principle, and he really struggled with it, because it's the constant push to try and fill those gaps. And it's a challenge for some guys, which is why it comes back to the topic of what we were saying before about being busy. You always want to be busy because it's very uncomfortable, and not to delve too deep into the nervous system's section of needing to be
fuck
busy.
it, go deep, let's go.
But there's more to it than lads just wanting to be busy because then they want to feel needed in the game. It's also a lot of it's internal, and your nervous system will not allow you to not be busy, so that it feels more comfortable, it feels safer, without sounding a bit woo woo. And by safe, I don't mean not from a as men, I'm not talking about feeling safe and not feeling like there's a threat. I mean, in terms of your nervous system, it needs to feel comfortable. It needs familiarity. What's the sad word to say this time of month? Familiarity. Yeah, needs to feel familiar. And the familiar thing for tradesmen is being on the tools.
Yeah.
Having an outsourced business is very fucking uncomfortable for most lads.
Yeah, whereas put the spanner in their hands, put them in a van.
Yeah. And which is why so many of the lads in Alliance, especially in these earlier stages, when they're starting to outsource, when they become overwhelmed, and a lot of the lads, despite my efforts to talk to them, a lot of lads still struggle with it. When they become overwhelmed and they end up back in the trenches, they will say, "Oh, it's just because I've become too busy," or I've got stuff going on. What they probably don't realize, that me and you are trained enough to know, is that that's them moving into safety again, because that's their default.
Putting the comfort blanket on, isn't it? Because it's what they know and trust. And it's I won't lie, it's not easy to undo that. That's for some people 20-30 years of life experiences, isn't it, that lead them to that comfort zone. But there are ways through it, isn't there? And for me personally, it comes down to education. So listening to stuff like this, reading books, trying things. Experience trumps anything, so actually sort of doing things, and you grow in. Remember the first time you picked up the pair of grips, how long did it take you to realize that you have to adjust it? You have to have it point in the right way. At first, if you just based it on your first attempt, you'd never pick them up again. You'd think, what a rubbish tool this is. It doesn't fit the nut. It doesn't grip it.
Yeah.
With practice,
I've ripped this brass fit into bits with these water pump pliers.
But like with anything, practice, learning, asking questions, and that's what I love about the group that we've created, is that it's not just the way. Obviously, this is just the Wayne and Andy show, and we do have guests, and we do have more guests coming. Actually, just a little plug there. But you're when you join something like Off the Tools, you're joining a community of men that have either been where you are or are going through what you're doing, and the advice and the guidance. I guess it's sort of what's the word, peer-to-peer learning, isn't it? Learning off of each other is just as valuable as the sessions that we host and the one-to-one calls that we do and all of that. You know, there's so much value in your, what is the saying? Your network is your net worth, isn't it? You know, it's, but anyway, to get back onto what I was saying there. So for me, education and your support system and your network is very, very important to overcoming the sort of roadblocks that come up. But also, you know, I think I touched on it a second ago. Action. Obviously, you've got to take different action if you want different results. You know, I can't stress that enough. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. I think it was Albert Einstein, wasn't it, that famously said that. The definition of insanity. Yeah. I've totally lost where I was going there. Let me just read my little notes there.
And you know, we have had the conversation with some of the lads that this, like you've just said, this initial phase, moving from tradesman to business owner, is very challenging, because you put some things in place, the business starts to become more successful, it starts to gain momentum. And then if you don't stay on track with the plan that we put together, whether it's me, you, or both of us creating the plan for the lads, you can then, your business becomes better. You've got more automations, for example, going out. You've got marketing campaigns running out to your existing customers. You get busier, and then the temptation then comes back. Oh yeah, I'm busy. The badge of honor comes back. You get sucked back into the tools, and obviously it's a part of our role as the coaches to rein them back in with that. And you need to move to the next step and move to the next step. Don't just let yourself get busier and get sucked back on the tools, which is, you know, it's good in a way. Like, obviously, yeah, you want to be busy in terms of the volume of work wants to be there, but you as the business owner should never be overwhelmed and be busy, you know, for a long period of time. You know, once you dial that in, you get busier. That's then the time to obviously look at more staff, and start to obviously let things go, which again involves letting the ego go, and the big and trying to battle with that emotional shift from going from tradesman to the business leader, which a lot of guys really struggle with. You know, if you're a bit of an introvert, it's not easy. And, you know, it comes back a little bit full circle to this accidental business owner and conversations we've had on previous ones, where there is guys that are better off being an employee. You know, I was speaking on a conversation on one of the forums, I think it was Gas Chat the other day, about a guy was asking for advice and opinions on his pricing structure. And he was doing, going to go out on his own and do his hourly rate was going to be £60 an hour. And I was explaining to him that.
What was that in 2002?
That's probably going to break down as less take home than a 40 grand a year salary. Because, and that's even at a decent capacity. So that's even at keeping your week to week busy at £60 an hour, moving through multiple jobs, travel time, stripping the fuel away, all the other shit. You're probably going to be taking less home than a salary.
We've done a whole episode on it, didn't we? The other week, you know, that breaks that down. I can't remember what number it was, 28, I think. So yeah, go and listen to that if you haven't. It's scary, isn't it? That so many. I don't want to dive too into that because, like I said, there's that whole episode. But it's to sort of get back onto this subject. You know, a lot of this comes down to confidence. So they're confident at their trade, so that is their safety, and they're not confident with marketing. They're not confident with systems. They're not confident with growing the business, taking on staff. They're not confident with being the leader. But guess what? You're never going to be confident at it unless you try. You know, I still remember one of the first times I put myself on video. You know, if I had based my whole experiences off of that one event, I'd never be doing this sort of stuff now. You know, where we turn up, we don't really plan anything. We just talk. We you know, we're free flowing. Hopefully, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we're not too bad to listen to. But that's a confidence thing, isn't it? That's a confidence thing that, you know, some people are lucky and have a natural confidence in anything that they do. A lot of people don't have that. And I'd say the majority of people don't have that level of self-confidence just to be able to try stuff for the first time and just get on with it. you have to build it. You have to build the foundations, and that comes from, again, back to my earlier point, action. You know, you have to start taking the right action to build the confidence, which then calms the storm, doesn't it? You know, and it calms the chaos around you, because it's far too easy to work in chaos, because then you've got the excuse, you know, oh, I'm busy, I'll do it myself. All of the stuff that we've already discussed on this episode. But yeah,
action solves anxiety, as they say. But yeah, I just want to wade in a little bit on the not feeling worthy of it, because I think we touched on this quite. I think when we did those really long podcasts, last year,
2-hour ones,
we delved a little bit into this, because I took some time to look at metrics, which then delved me down a bit of a rabbit hole, which is most tradesmen, because they didn't have the aptitude for higher education, therefore could not move from school to college and so on and so forth, and move down that classic higher education system, because they're not academically skilled, even though they're more, as we all know, tradesmen are generally more savvy, worldly wise, skilled, and have way more ingenuity. Ingenuity is a tradesman thing. You find me someone with most people with a degree will not have half the ingenuity of a tradesman who can create a solution to a problem on spot, on site, and fix something. So it's about that reframe, really, of thinking, well, actually, I am worthy of being a business owner, because I would argue ingenuity is more valuable to an entrepreneur than any degree, higher education, whatever. Most entrepreneurs and business owners do not have higher education qualifications anyway. They're just fucking mint at having ingenuity, thinking on the spot, coming up with solutions to problems, everything that we have to learn as tradesmen. You go to, I'm just going to do a straight swap on this boiler. Oh no, actually, I can't run that pipe work there. I'm going to have to create a new problem. There isn't a protocol in place. There isn't a schematics. There isn't a operating procedure for that sort of stuff. It all comes down to ingenuity. And we've had lots of conversations, both together and individually, with the lads in Alliance about, self-worth, confidence. While they might not lack any self-worth as a tradesman, because they're great tradesmen, that transition to business owner can be really challenging from a confidence perspective. But again, it's something that we work on within the Alliance. And again, as you said before, that peer-to-peer relationship that is built from the group is really strong with that as well. And it comes to that, your network is your net worth. And when you change that surrounding of lads who just want to get their head down and be a tradesman to lads that are moving from tradesman to business owner, you naturally gain the confidence and start to feel worthy of being that business owner, because it becomes your new default. That was my final words I wanted to drop in on that.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So on that note, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully you've took something out of this session. I think we'll close it on that one. Have a good one, everyone. God bless.
See you soon.